Hey, Aubrey from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my enthusiastic co-host, Bree Tucker.
Whoop, whoop. Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today?
So today, Bree, we are talking with Audrey Monke, who wrote this book, Happy Campers, which I was like so excited to read because she's a camp director, and I spent so much time as a camp counselor when I was like just in high school and in college, and those camp memories were like some of the best memories of my life.
Yes, like you have mentioned that before, because I know like we went on our Girl Scout camping trip, and I was one of the parent volunteers. I did not get to have that lovely experience as a child of a camp, and honestly, hearing the two of you talking about all the benefits and what it was like, I feel like I missed out on something majorly awesome. I want to go to a camp now. Is there a camp for moms?
There is, I think.
Where to teach us social
Probably
skills?
not right now, but yeah. But
we should make one.
Make a camp for moms.
Yes, we need to pair. Okay, Audrey, if you're listening, we need to pair up and make a camp for moms.
A summer camp experience.
Right?
We can go to Audrey's camp. Audrey, we can come to your camp.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And it'll be mom summer camp, and we could do all the things.
We could teach parenting skills
Yes.
and social interaction. Oh my goodness. All
and
right,
just
I'm
have
done.
a community and
I'm
be
done.
like happy in the woods.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I want to make s'mores by the campfire and sing songs.
That's fun. You know, the best thing about camp, though, it's funny because I really didn't attend much camp as a kid. I was more in the leadership positions in camp, where I went right for like CIT, which is counselor in training. And then I became a counselor at this one. It was a Girl Scout camp in Tucson, Arizona. Camp Whispering Pines, shout out. But the benefit of camp was just having this great community of people who had like your shared values and beliefs. I mean, one of the things in our camp, like our camp culture, was that everybody needs 14 hugs a day.
Okay, and that's just right there. That translates so amazingly throughout the rest of your life and as a parent, because seriously, I don't. If you know me, you know that when it comes to my kids, whenever they're all grumpy, I'm like, you need a hug.
Yeah. So like,
Which worked well when they were little. Now they kind of run away because they're teens.
They
but,
are.
Whatever.
Everyone needs hugs. But like every morning we got up and we would see each other in like the mess hall. The lodge is where we had breakfast, and we would give each other hugs, and it was amazing way to start the day. You just felt so loved, and that's what camp can bring you, and that is the environment that Audrey was creating at her camp too. But today's episode, we got Audrey to talk to us about how to coach kids to better friendships.
Oh my gosh, and that is such a I admit I think about so many things with my kids, and I worry about them having friends and how that happens, but I guess I never really thought about teaching them those skills on how to cultivate those friendships.
I never thought about teaching them that either. But when I read this chapter in Audrey's book,
like,
it was so like, oh my gosh, yes. And then came the next step where I'm like, everybody needs these skills. So this interview with Audrey Monke, she is the camp owner director at Gold Arrow Camp, which is in California. She's also the host of the Sunshine Parenting podcast and website, and the author of Happy Campers, 9 Summer Camp Secrets for Raising Kids Who Become Thriving Adults. She specializes in raising happy, self-reliant, kind, responsible kids using the secrets from summer camp. And we hope you enjoy our conversation with Audrey. So this episode is brought to you by the Sibling Adventure Log. Hey, mamas, if you need something for your kids to do right now, I'm talking about right now, go and get our free Sibling Adventure Log. It is 14 missions of just fun things that will get your kids happy and interacting together. And you can go to noguiltmom.com/sibling-adventure-log, or you can follow our link in the show notes. Let's get on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom Podcast.
Welcome, Audrey, to the podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
It's so fun to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And we were just talking before we started recording about like all of the wonderfulness of camp and the things that you get from camp. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion because like camp was one of the best experiences of my life. And I am so excited for what you have to share with everybody about what you learned there and also how to help kids have these great friendships that you foster at camp.
Well, I do love always talking to a fellow camp believer. So I'm glad that you get it.
So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. Well, so I have 5 kids. My husband and I have 5 kids, and they right now are ages 17 to 26. So I'm a mom to a lot of kids, which is really fun. And my background and my whole professional career has been in summer camp, as you mentioned. I actually started working as a camp counselor when I was in college. And I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I wanted to work with kids. And so I wanted the experience of working with kids a little bit more. So the summer of 1986, I applied to a camp that I had only been to once as a child that I remembered really enjoying as a water ski instructor, because I grew up in a family that loved the water and boats. My dad taught me how to drive boats when I was like 9 years old. And so I had been teaching friends to water ski since I was like 11. Out on boats alone. This was before like rules, this is, and so by the time I was 19 and applying to work at camp, I was an experienced boat driver. I had taught a lot of kids to water ski, my friends, and had driven boats for hours and hours and knew all about them and everything. So that first summer I got to camp, and within just a couple weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is my place. I love it here. I felt just a great sense of belonging. I felt relaxed. I had gone to a really intense college preparatory high school. I was at Stanford University for college. So I had kind of had that life of just achieving, school focused, just like surrounded by people who were just, what's the next thing? And I get to camp and, I'm just sitting around the campfire, talking to kids, talking to them in my boat. I ended up being like, the way I describe it now is the part I liked best was being like a life coach for my campers. I love just like, they would be sharing about like what's going on at home and their friends. And I just loved talking to them and like getting to know them. And I had my little posse of kids who like to go early morning water skiing. So that first summer I was just hooked. And long story short, I ended up, after graduating from college, I was teaching, and I was I was teaching on an emergency credential. And I ended up having the opportunity to buy the camp. And so I always just say it was just like one of those things that like the timing and just everything was uncanny. My first summer working at camp, the founder of the camp had passed away the December before. So his wife, who was quite elderly, was already talking about selling it. So during my whole time during college, I'd be at camp and they'd be talking about like people would be coming through like, oh, maybe this person's going to buy camp. And so it was just like this talk. So it was a total pipe dream. And then through a weird series of events, I ended up being able to buy the camp in 1989 when I was 22 years old.
Oh my goodness.
That's pretty young to make that sort of decision and to have it like you're still with it and still working in that same field. That's amazing turn of events, how that all happened.
Yeah. I always tell people that like I'm so much more risk averse now that I probably would not do it as an adult,
It's almost like you needed that at 22 to be like, yes, let's go for it. You wrote the book, Happy Campers. the 9 summer camp secrets for raising kids who become thriving adults. What is your secret about friendships and kids?
Well, one of the things, so actually, when I went into my master's program, what I really wanted to study was why it was being unplugged, which was the reason kids were so happy at camp. But as I delved into it, there's just too many variables in a camp, to do research on just one of the many things that are great about camp. And what really rose to the top in my research on positive psychology is that it is positive relationships that are the best predictor of everything good in life. So like the Harvard study, anything that you look at, Susan Pinker, I think that's her name, work about the village effect. Basically, if there's one thing that we can do for our kids that will predict a good life for them, good career, good relationships, good health, it's relationships. And it's that connection. So like, that's why my book is bookended with connection comes first. So your relationship in your family. And then the last one is helping your child with their relationships with other people, because childhood friendships not only are what Michael Thompson calls the gold of childhood. I mean, you look back on your childhood, what you're going to remember as the very best parts are those friends and doing fun things with your friends, right? And so what I was finding at camp as the years went on is that kids were getting, and again, this is anecdotal, so this is my opinion, but I think it's being played out widely. It's their social skills were not as good like in the 2000s as they were in the 1980s.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused mini-game quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
Hey, Audrey here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
And why do you think that is?
I think many, many factors. One is more structure to their lives. So everything became so like you're going to a sports practice and like you're on a team with your friends, and then you're going to, Girl Scouts, and you're going to this and you're going to that. Whereas in the 80s, and like I was like a 1970s, 1980s kid, it was just a lot of unstructured time, right? We were just kind of on our bikes, riding around, and I was out on boat. I mean, I was just, we were all over the place without adult supervision, which sometimes wasn't good, but,
it's
but
like
I
watching
think,
Stranger Things. Have you watched Stranger
oh,
Things?
I love, oh
where
my gosh,
you're
my
like,
husband and
where
I,
are the parents?
yes. Well, and that is the thing, is that when you look back on your childhood, the best memories are usually when your parents weren't there. Not to be
Mhm.
offensive to parents, but
It's true.
it's those childhood adventures, which is why camp for so many kids is so amazing, because even though there's adult supervision, camp counselors don't feel like real adults because they're young enough to still be like cool and fun. They're not
Mhm.
like old and tired and parental,
Yeah. Yeah. I know how that is. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a thing that people know about. It's called near peer leadership. So when the people are just a few years older than you, you respond better to their leadership than to someone who's like, you walk into class and if your teacher is, 50, like my age or whatever, you're just like, oh, that's kind of like an old teacher. But when you have that young teacher who's just out of their, program or whatever, you're like, oh, this is kind of fun. I don't know. So in any case, what I really found was in my research that it was these relationships that is the best predictor. So then taking that back, well, how do you get good relationships? It's things that you actually do. It's these social skills that need to be practiced.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I saw was being neglected. I think most parents were very focused on kids' academics and their athletic. So it's, getting tutoring for math, getting extra coaching for the sport. Yet how many parents were spending time thinking about, how are my child's conflict resolution skills?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
how, when they go into a new school or a new environment, how are they at making friends? There was so much talk about like anti-bullying and kind of what not to do. And it bothered me that we weren't focusing more on what to do. In my little world of camp, I got to focus on those things, like have, themes. First of all, we have our values of camp that we teach the kids, but then we would have themes for a whole summer, all of which basically revolved around things that will help your relationship. So we had, a theme of kindness. We had a theme of gratitude, positivity. We like rotate through these themes, but all of them come back to when you're grateful, when you express thanks to someone, that makes your relationship better. When you're kind.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is that it's important for kids to have these friendships when they're younger, but when they don't have the social skills to really foster those friendships, that's where we run into a problem. And I know in your book, you encourage parents to be kids' friendship coaches. Can you talk a little bit about how parents can do that for their kids?
Sure. Well, the first thing is to have a growth mindset about social skills.
That is important. We love the growth mindset.
Yes.
I think many of us were raised thinking that people were either good at making friends or not good at making friends. I mean, even in like my early years of working with kids, the conversations that adults would have about kids, like, oh, she's a leader. She's really good at, leading the group, and he's really awkward. So, spend a lot of extra time with him because he's awkward. The other kids don't really get along with him. So we had that fixed, even in the way adults like kind of labeled kids. So that's the number one thing as a parent, to look at your child not as social or good at making friends or quiet or whatever your labels are, and instead look at social skills the same way you look at anything else, that they are skills that you need to learn and practice, and they do not necessarily come naturally. So some kids, just like sports analogy, some kids like get out on a field and things come really easily to them and they are good at it pretty quickly. And others need, very specific coaching on how to hold the ball. So anyway, social skills are the same way. And what we did at camp and what parents can do at home is really break it down. First of all, to realize that all kids have social skills strengths. There are things that they're good at, that they're good at socially. Could be that, quieter kids are often really good at listening or observing other people's, like how other people are feeling. So that's a strength, right?
It's a huge strength. Those quiet kids don't get enough credit. They're great observers of the world and seeing people's inner emotions.
Oh, they make awesome. They're sometimes the best friend. My husband's like that. One of my kids is, and so again, like as a parent, being able to embrace that,
Mm-hmm.
your child might not be the most outgoing kid, but look at what a good friend they are to, this one person. Another thing that a lot of parents will ask me, well, is it okay if my child only has like one friend or two friends? And it's like, gosh, when you look at the world, all you really need in this life is like a couple good friends. So some kids, have this huge crowd of people, but really a lot of those relationships are not really deep. So, quality over quantity, I think for sure for friendships. So in terms of coaching, if you, like a lot of parents have coached soccer or basketball, same thing with friendship skills. If you see that your child is not able to introduce themselves or kind of get an opening, that's a skill that you can practice with them. You can role play with them. I have a lot of materials where I break it down step by step. At camp, what we do is we present it to everybody so that it's not we're saying to one child, oh, you need to learn how to introduce yourself. We say it to the whole camp and we all practice together. And that's really effective too, because you don't want kids to feel like they're being singled out.
That is like, so when I read that in the book that you did that with your campers, I'm like, oh my gosh, like if I had had that skill in my 20s when I was trying to like network for my job, can you imagine how like powerful that is? And I think it's definitely something that kids need to know how to introduce themselves and like what are some other social skills that kids need that parents can teach them.
The kindness thing goes into a lot of different things, but being able to compliment others with like real compliments.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites is celebrating each other's victories. So this comes from like John Gottman, a lot of marriage research. So in the best relationships of any kind, when your friend accomplishes something, you feel as much excitement as the person. So it's like, if you have this victory, something good happens to you, you get a promotion at your job, you're like as excited as that friend. And that's something that I think kids we're so focused on competition and like kind of individual stuff in especially our American culture, that learning to be excited for and celebrate each other is such an important skill. And this is for adults too. All of these things are for like adults and kids.
Yes. It is so important to be able to celebrate each other and not have that spirit of competition with everything. So I love that. Introducing yourself to others is a great social skill. Being able to celebrate others' victories. What do you think one more skill that parents can concentrate on to teach their kids?
Well, this is probably the hardest one. And I think parents do need to like really spend a lot of time with kids, especially who have a deficit in this area, but it's their emotional regulation. So
Oh, yes. 100%.
So kids who are most rejected socially by other kids have trouble controlling their emotions. So a lot of like emotional outbursts, overreaction to things, it's like if somebody says something and they don't even mean it, like then the kid takes it personally or overreacts. And that's really unappealing to other people. Same with adults. Again, like it translates. So really a lot of that is just if you have a child that has, trouble controlling especially those negative outbursts, it's working together on strategies, simple things they can do, like whether it's, any calm down strategy that's going to work for them so that they can take that breath, take that pause, learn. And it's really helping with them, from when they're young all the way through, sitting with them and helping them and being with them because they can't help it. It's a skill that they don't yet have. That is one of the things that I feel like parents could really help their kids in a huge way. If that's a focus at home, both with the adults and your whole family, is normalizing that we get upset, we flip our lids. We talk about that at camp where the dancing, you flip your lid. All of us do that sometimes. And we all need to learn our own strategies for how to calm back down. And that's kind of the journey of life, right? Like parents right now, when you're stressed, we yell, we do things that we're like later, like, oh, why did I do that? I wasn't planning on doing that. So talking to our kids about that too, saying, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry that I just yelled at you. You know how we talked about flipping your lid? I just flipped my lid and I'm going to go have a cup of tea and I'm going to go sit and read for a few minutes and try to calm myself down. So modeling that for our kids, I think that's a huge gift we can give them.
Yeah, modeling self-regulation is huge for kids. Like, I don't ever remember my parents modeling that for me. I don't think it was very widespread in the 80s and 90s. And now, seeing our bosses, for examples, in work cultures. I had a boss who used to flip her lid very, very easily. And being able to control that in the workplace is just as important as like learning the skill now and being able to control it as a kid. And I think as kids, that's where they get the practice and where they learn it.
Well, and I especially loved how you talked through the steps, because
Yes.
lots of times, like, we're doing the self-regulation steps. Like, I'm going to step away for a few minutes. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to have a drink of cold water, hot tea, whatever. And they don't realize that that's actually our cool off steps, the
Mhm.
things that we're doing. They just see us going off and doing it. And I know we've heard this before, like just talking about that personal narrative of this is why I'm doing it. That is such a huge, huge thing. I love that.
So huge. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
So this is a question that we ask everybody. What is your favorite hack for making kids more self-sufficient?
It's questions. My favorite question is, so what are you going to do?
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
So so something went wrong, like, oh my gosh, I didn't get my math assignment in on time. And then, just say, like kind of an empathetic response. Oh, that's too bad. So what are you going to do? Because I feel like our instinct is to be like, okay, well, so let's do this and let's log in and let's do that. We start like going into action because we know how to do it well because, we've already done 5th grade math or whatever it is. So if you could just hold yourself back from the advice and just ask the question, so what are you going to do? I think that's a really good one. My other favorite question, which is one that helps your child be a future great employee. What else do I need to do? So if your child, for example, is doing the kitchen cleanup, to have them kind of be trained to ask you, what else do I need to do? Or, what do I need to do to finish this job? Because what we found in our staff, and I wrote about this in the book, is a lot of kids were not raised to be finishers. So they would do like halfway through the job, like they would run a great bingo game with the kids and then leave all the stuff out and wait for, basically mom or someone to come by and finish for them. So I like that question because that will it's like kind of teaching them to really be able to look around and see what needs to be done. And what ends up happening is eventually your answer is, oh, you're all set. Because you said, like, the first time you're like, oh, you still need to wipe down the counter, or you need to, take the trash out. But then eventually they start seeing for themselves and being more of a self-starter, which to me is like a hugely important quality.
It's huge. And imagine the amount of nagging, like the less nagging we'd have to do as parents if kids always ask, what else do we have to do? We'd be like, oh, wow, that's awesome. What's coming up for you right now that you're excited about?
Well, I've actually had a very restful year. Not a lot going on. So
tons of rest and relaxation in 2020.
Yeah. Probably the thing that a couple things that I'm involved in right now that I'm enjoying. They're all online, of course, but the Parenting in Place Masterclass, which I enjoy being a presenter. I just present one week, but I really enjoy going to all of them too. I'm there every week, and I love learning from these people. And it's like something I look forward to a lot. That, and then the other thing that I'm doing, so this is something that really has given some purpose and meaning to my camp directors on my team, is we're taking some of these lessons and things that we teach our camp counselors about connecting with kids and celebrating strengths and cultivating character. And we're doing these monthly webinars for teachers. So we have this, it's called Gold Arrow Teacher Academy. And we're just really having fun connecting with teachers and giving them really simple tools that they can use to just create more fun and connection and positivity in their classroom, whether that's virtual or live. And that's been really fun because we're just giving them little like camp type activities that they can do. And so that's been fun. So those are two of the things. And then I just still do my podcast, my every week.
That's so much fun. And we will put a link in our show notes to your podcast, Sunshine Parenting, because I've listened to a few episodes and they are amazing. And you always come away with very actionable tips and very easy things to do. So thank you so much, Audrey, for coming on. This has been amazing, and how to help our kids become better friends and foster great friendships. Thank you.
Yes, I want to go to camp now.
You should.
To make an adult camp. Camp for adults, for moms.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
So, okay, first of all, Audrey's interview.
Oh my gosh, I love Audrey. She feels like one of my girlfriends.
Yes.
Our girlfriends, right? Like, she's so easy to talk to, so much fun. Oh gosh.
She was so fun. And just like the social skills she laid out that she teaches her campers, like I was so impressed by, because a lot of the times, like in a classroom environment or in a camp environment or even in our own homes, many of the problems come from people not knowing how to interact with each other.
You're right.
Yeah. And they don't know, like, I love that she teaches campers how to introduce themselves to each other.
Huge skill.
Can you imagine if like we had all been taught that as kids, and going into like our adult lives and even like our lives when we were in high school and interviewing for a job, if we knew how to introduce ourselves to people and not have to be shy or not worried about like doing it a wrong way to make a bad impression, like, I mean, how much more confident would you be?
So much more. And honestly, like I'm thinking back as you're saying that, and I'm like, okay, when did I learn how to speak to others, introduce myself, have that general speaking skill set? Yeah, it was a class I took my senior year in college.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember what it was. It was probably public speaking.
It comes so late. It comes so late. Like I learned the basis of good communication in a communication class in college.
Right.
Like you could learn that so much like younger, and I would think it'd be world changing.
Yeah. And when you're moving, like I'm thinking about school transitions because that's where my kids are right now. Like my daughter moved into junior high this year. My son is moving into high school next year. And we're in an interesting predicament where he's coming from a charter school going into a public high school. And so the truth is he's not going to know a lot of the kids.
No.
And this is a skill set, knowing how to introduce yourself, knowing how to find that. And she talks about like how to find that common thing between you and another person to help cultivate that friendship. And all of those things are skills that he's going to have to use pretty heavily starting here in a year. And honestly, I think I'm a little behind the ball on that one. I better make sure I go through those chapters a little bit more. And can I also just shout out to Audrey? Love that book. Parents, you have got to
get Happy Campers, especially like chapter 9, the 9th secret is this coaching kids to better friendships. And she has a checklist of social skills that kids should learn, which is so helpful, which would probably be helpful for your son too, just going through the checklist with him and seeing if he knows them.
I mean, and just in overall that book, like she has so many great tangible tips, ideas, resources. Like the whole back section of the book is just chock full of resources. But I especially had a spot in my heart for how every chapter had a tie into family meetings, because you know me, I'm a family meeting gal.
Yes.
And shout out to one of our episodes, episode 32, we talk about family meetings. I highly, again, suggest Audrey's book, because again, every chapter, she ties the skill that she's talking about into how you can do that in a family meeting setting, which I think is huge.
It's huge because sometimes in family meetings, you have no idea what to talk about.
Oh, I know. You're winging it.
You're winging it. And this gives you like specific skills like you can concentrate on in a family meeting to grow your kids into these amazing human beings.
Oh, gosh. So awesome. So loved this episode, Audrey. Hopefully you guys loved it just as much.
We are part of the Audrey Monke fan club now, and I think we should all campaign for mom camp.
Yes. Yes. Audrey, I'm going to reach out to you on this, man. It's an idea just waiting to explode. I know it.
Mom
know
camp.
it.
Yes. Yes.
What if like two camps, like a camp for our kids over on one side of the lake and we get to be on the other side?
Have like high school age counselors take care of our kids, because Audrey did mention that like that age difference between like high schoolers and kids, like the kids listen better, and then just have mom camp.
You know what's funny? Okay, wait. So I love that. But when she said that about how they listen with the age difference, because like my kids would be like, oh yeah, they're in high school. They're so wise in their years. But mom, you're not wise in your years because you're just old.
Mom, you have no idea what you're talking about.
You're just so old. But you know, this person that's in high school gets it.
They have so much more life experience than I do. Like 4 years, 4 more years.
We kid, we love, but at the same time, there is so much truth in that.
There is.
The joys of the teen years.
So, hey, if you're enjoying this podcast and like us riffing on the relative experience of high schoolers compared to moms, could you hit subscribe? And also, we would so appreciate if you could leave us a review. That helps more people find the No Guilt Mom podcast, so we can help everybody become a No Guilt Mom.
Yes, if we're worthy of 5 stars, we would love it.
We would really appreciate your 5 stars.
If we made you laugh once, isn't that worth 5 stars? I mean, come on.
So until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you.
And thanks for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday, who is pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.